Well, more speculation has been raised on the reasons for NATO's intervention in Libya. And as RT's Laura Emmett reports, the organisation may have been trying to prevent Gaddafi from burying the American buck.
Others say it's about oil.
The only reason they're interested with Libya is about the oil. You'd think we'd be in Iraq if the major export there was broccoli.
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted. There were two conferences on this. One in '96 and another one in the year 2000, called the World Mataba Conference, organised by Gaddafi. And everybody was interested, and I think most countries in Africa were keen.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold. The UK has double that, but 10 times the population.
If Gaddafi had an intent to try to reprice his oil or whatever else the country was selling in the global markets and accept something else as a currency, or maybe launch a gold dinar currency, any move such as that would certainly not be welcomed by the power elite today who are responsible for controlling the world's central banks. So yes, that would certainly be something that would cause his immediate dismissal and the need for other reasons to be brought forth for removing him from power.
It's happened before. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced Iraqi oil would be traded in euros, not dollars. Sanctions and an invasion followed. Some say because the Americans were desperate to prevent OPEC from transferring oil trading in all its member countries to the euro.
Land of unconfirmed. Yes, we came. We saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No, I'm sure it did.
Overnight, Donald Trump sharpening his attack on Hillary Clinton over the rise of ISIS.
It started under her. It was a little group of people. It could have been wiped out quickly and effectively then. Now it's a very large group of people, and it's only getting bigger.
It's the first time I ever held a weapon. I'm happy we took these guns from Gaddafi to liberate our cities. There's been so much discussion about arming opposition fighters that the proliferation of guns in Benghazi society has gone almost unnoticed. In quieter moments, people gather around displays of armaments. Not just fighters, but everyone here now seems to have an interest in weaponry.
They're the questions the president cannot escape. Why do we still not know what went wrong in Benghazi?
When Gaddafi had people in power here, of course, nobody was allowed to carry a weapon, and it is striking how quickly people have got used to holding a gun. But more questionable, perhaps, is the idea that as soon as the fighting finishes, they'll automatically hand all the weapons in.
For the time being, the only police on display here organise the traffic, and they are unarmed. If this revolution is successful, at some point they're going to have to get people to hand their weapons in. The longer all this goes on, the harder that will be.
President Obama also faced some serious questions last night about his administration's response to that deadly attack in Benghazi, the one that cost 4 Americans their lives. Tonight, we have learned that Ambassador Chris Stevens, who was killed in the attack, repeatedly voiced concern about security in Libya, including, we are told, on the day he died.
That remains a work in progress. The president has vowed to bring those responsible to justice, but although government officials suggest that members of the extremist group Ansar al-Sharia were involved in the attack, a New York Times reporter spent 2 leisurely hours on the patio of a crowded luxury hotel last night with the leader of that group as he sipped a strawberry frappe. This afternoon, Republicans in Congress released new images from the compound where Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans died, including earlier photos from previous attacks in Benghazi, highlighting how precarious the security situation had been. They also released this chilling June cable from Ambassador Stevens, warning Islamic extremism was on the rise in the area, al-Qaeda's flag flying over government buildings in a nearby town.
Ambassador Stevens personally pressed for strengthened security in a series of cables to State Department headquarters in Washington. On July 9, 2012, Stevens sent a request for extension of temporary duty personnel. That refers to a 16-man military temporary security team with expertise in counterterrorism. They were set to leave in August, but Stevens asked to keep them through mid-September. On August 2nd, 6 weeks before he died, Stevens requested protective detail bodyguard positions, saying the added guards will fill the vacuum of security personnel currently at post who will be leaving within the next month and will not be replaced. He called the security condition in Libya unpredictable, volatile, and violent. It's not known what happened to that request. On August 8th, as the special security teams left Libya, another cable from Stevens says a series of violent incidents has dominated the political landscape and calls them targeted and discriminate attacks. Then, on September 11th, the day the ambassador lost his life, he sent this Benghazi weekly report. It expressed Libyans' growing frustration with police and security forces who were too weak to keep the country secure.
On September 11, 2012, at about 10 p.m., the night of the attack, Clinton issued a statement saying that, quote, some have sought to justify this vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material posted on the internet. Now, in that statement, Clinton's referring to that online anti-Muslim video that had sparked protests elsewhere in the world. An hour later on that same day, however, Clinton sent an email to her daughter, Chelsea, that made no reference to the video. It blamed, quote, an al-Qaeda-like group. The day after the attack, September 12th, Clinton issued her first in-person statement, and she also referenced the video.
Some have sought to justify this vicious behavior along with the protest that took place at our embassy in Cairo yesterday as a response to inflammatory material posted on the internet.
On that same day, September 12th, according to notes taken by a Foreign Service worker, Hillary Clinton told the Egyptian prime minister that the attack, quote, had nothing to do with the film, unquote. On September 21st, Hillary Clinton publicly called it a terrorist attack for the first time.
What happened in Benghazi was a terrorist attack, and we will not rest until we have tracked down and brought to justice the terrorists who murdered 4 Americans.
On October 15th, Hillary Clinton gave an interview to CNN in which she blamed the fog of war for why the Obama administration seemed to blame this entire incident initially on this anti-Muslim video, even though the State Department privately never thought that was the case.
In the wake of an attack like this, in the fog of war, there's always going to be confusion. And I think it is absolutely fair to say that everyone had the same intelligence.
Here's the bottom line. In the thick of a tough re-election campaign in which the president was arguing that terrorists were on the run, the Obama administration was quick to cite the video and claim that this was a spontaneous attack, and very slow to acknowledge what the attack on Benghazi was: a planned terrorist attack. Hillary Clinton contributed to that false impression, even though the State Department and Hillary Clinton seemed to know from the beginning that this was a terrorist attack.
President's spokesman to say that, well, there was only words or technical changes made in those emails is a flat-out untruth. I like Mr. Carney, but that's just not acceptable for the president's spokesman to say that to the American people when we now know any reference to acts of terror, any reference to al-Qaeda were removed from those talking points, and it was done at a deputies meeting just before Susan Rice went on television.
Would you call this a cover-up?
I'd call it a cover-up. I would call it a cover-up in the extent that there was willful removal of information which was obvious. It was obvious.
How many more Clinton scandals can this country take?
So it turns out that we paid Iran a whole lot more than the White House first suggested before the release of our hostages from that country. The White House has now acknowledged that the $400 million payment, which got a ton of attention this summer, was just a down payment. In fact, in the end, we sent $1.7 billion in total to Tehran. Many people concerned that a lot of that money went to the Revolutionary Guard. All of that money was transported in cold, hard cash, shipped on planes in various currencies and delivered to Tehran. The Treasury Department says that the money was owed to Iran because it was frozen back in the 70s in bank accounts, and that we owed it to them, and we returned it with tons of interest. What do you think?
Well, you've got to differentiate between the first $400 million, which was ransom, same day, get the hostages out, and the remainder, which to me was a bribe, a massive bribe to prevent the Iranians from embarrassing our president over the nuke deal. Essentially what the nuke deal did, it did not stop Iran's nuclear program. It prevented us, it paralyzed us from responding to Iranian provocations.
Well, the FBI is issuing special software to comb through hundreds of thousands of emails found on former Congressman Anthony Weiner's laptop. Investigators are looking for classified material and anything that may be tied to Hillary Clinton. Weiner's estranged wife is Clinton's aide, Huma Abedin.
This is the worst. 10 days to go until the election. The FBI with that surprise announcement. The agency saying it has found new emails that could be relevant to the investigation into Clinton's private server.
Now, those new emails were found while the FBI was investigating disgraced Congressman Anthony Weiner, the estranged husband of top Clinton aide Huma Abedin. Federal prosecutors had been looking into whether Weiner was sexting an underage girl in North Carolina. When they searched his computer, they found emails from Abedin, which they say could pertain to the Clinton investigation.
Now, the compulsive sexting by the husband of one of her closest aides has led to a new federal investigation of Clinton's emails, with just over a week to go before the election. Weiner's third strike for sexting may be his ugliest yet. The first time he was forced to resign from Congress, the second time he was running for New York City mayor, the third time he was a stay-at-home dad. Caught sexting with a 15-year-old girl. Perhaps worst of all, Weiner allegedly sent out a picture of the couple's son, climbed into bed with him while he was sexting. His electronic devices and his wife's seized as part of the FBI investigation.
So Huma now is one of the people that it all sort of came through Huma. Who is Huma married to? One of the great sleazebags of our time. Anthony Weiner. Did you know that? She's married to Anthony Weiner. Huma is getting classified secrets. She's married to Anthony Weiner, who's a perv. No, he is. He is. Because why else would she marry this guy? Can you believe it? Can't see straight.
But every day I wake up and I see this paradigm of an unfair media that constantly, instinctively goes after the messenger. It constantly, instinctively goes after the good guy. It constantly stands up for the blatantly bad guy. I don't know how it got this way, but I can't believe that we live in this science fiction novel. Isaac Asimov could not envision this. George Orwell could not have envisioned this. These people have no moral compass, they have no ethical compass, and they attack the people who tell the truth, and they support the people who are the bad guys.
So the question is, did Bill Clinton visit his close friend Jeffrey Epstein's island, Pedo Island, with two young girls? New court documents suggest that, in fact, he did. Why isn't this front page news?
Everything. She had pictures, she had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed, because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep,
Everything you need to know about Hillary Clinton can be understood with this simple phrase: follow the money.
Donald Trump delivered a blistering attack on the relationship between the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton-era State Department.
She disgraced the office of Secretary of State by putting it up for sale. And if she ever got the chance, she would put the Oval Office up for sale too.
There is no proof of direct Clinton favors to foundation donors, but access to Clinton was sought and sometimes granted to big givers.
Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
To try and make it clear, we don't have a problem, you have a problem.
We hear about Bill Clinton, everybody says, no, Bill was never on the plane, except he's on the manifest 26 times.
675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation, her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up.
These people are sick.
Just the WikiLeaks revelation specific to the Clinton server up, and then we'll go to the new revelations today. This is obvious law-breaking, I'd use the word bribery, cover-up, destruction of, materials. It actually seems to now make sense that they had the private server because they didn't want Freedom of Information Act request or congressional oversight because of all the money they're making.
Well, it was a very good way for them to cover up their tracks. I've said this week that the big difference between the Clintons and the Sopranos were that the Sopranos didn't leave an email trail, and the Clintons didn't think they were going to either. But the fact is, the WikiLeaks exposure has revealed what really amounts to nothing less than a criminal enterprise, because they have used every government agency and all the powers to do two things: protect themselves from being accountable to the laws that the rest of us have to live by, and then to use those powers for self-enrichment and for going after their political enemies.
Defrauding the public with ridiculous.
At the beginning of the film, you'll see there's this extraordinary phone call that Julian makes where he's calling, he's trying to reach Hillary Clinton to speak to the State Department and warn them that a password was being circulated and that files were circulating on the internet. And so you have this just sort of incredible behind the scenes encounter.
Oh, hello, can I please speak to Hillary Clinton? I'm calling from the office of Julian Assange. It's very important. Yep, so Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks. Okay, and all of the US Department of State cables, we have intelligence that they are about to be put on the web, unredacted, not by us. And I would like to speak to her about this.
She might be busy in meetings. Find out who is her second in command.
Yeah.
Uma now is one of the people that it all sort of came through Uma.
This is an emergency. You're the emergency line and it will take a while. More details other than the entire unredacted cable set is about to go on the internet. I mean, literally it's about to happen. I don't understand why you are not seeing the urgency in this.
G'day, Chad. This is Julian Assange. To try and make it clear, we don't have a problem, you have a problem. And we are trying to help you solve your problem because we are indirectly connected to your problem. I would like to speak to the most senior person available who can execute an action quickly to send someone to location here in Norfolk.
Source that was at State Department meeting at some point blurted out a controversial query. Can't we just drone this guy? Clinton openly inquired.
These people are sick.
Offering a simple remedy to silence Assange and smother WikiLeaks via a planned military drone strike, according to State Department sources. Apparently happened at the State Department when Hillary Clinton was there. They explained Clinton's State Department was getting pressure from President Obama and his White House inner circle, as well as heads of state internationally, to try and cut off Assange's delivery of the cables. And if that effort failed, then to forge a strategy to minimize the administration's public embarrassment over the contents of the cables. Hence, Clinton's early morning November meeting of state's top brass, who floated various proposals to stop, slow, or spin the WikiLeaks contamination. That is when a frustrated Clinton, sources said, at some point blurted out a controversial query. Can't we just drone this guy? Clinton openly inquired, offering a simple remedy to silence Assange and smother WikiLeaks via a planned military drone strike, according to State Department sources. The statement drew laughter from the room, which quickly died off when the secretary kept talking in a terse manner, sources said. Clinton said Assange, after all, was a relatively soft target, quote, walking around freely, thumbing his nose without any fear of reprisals from the United States. Clinton was upset about Assange's previous 2010 records releases, divulging secret U.S. documents about the war in Afghanistan in July and the war in Iraq just a month earlier in October, sources said. At that time in 2010, Assange was relatively free and not living cloistered in the embassy of Ecuador in London.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified materials.
110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
I take classified information seriously.
There is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
I have turned over all of my emails. No one else can say that. I have been incredibly open about doing that. I will continue to be open, and it's not an issue that is going to affect either the campaign or my presidency.
The FBI also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton to state in 2014.
Did you wipe the server?
What, like with a cloth or something?
I don't know.
Well,
you know
no.
how it works digitally. Did you try to wipe the whole server?
I don't know how it works digitally at all.
And the lawyers then cleaned their devices in such a way as to preclude complete forensic recovery.
Hillary accidentally bumped into me, and she very civilly said, "Pardon me." The investigation will last for years. Nothing will get done. Government will grind to a halt, and our country will continue to suffer.
You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.